Well, good morning. Today I thought we'd talk about the fingerboard, and I think the standard fingerboard here is 10.5 inches. This is 10 5/8. And the standard measurements for violins, I'd suggest, if you don't have it, useful measurements for violin makers, a reference for shop use by Henry A. Strobel, S-T-R-O-B-E-L. This is one of Mr. Strobel's excellent books. He's got charts for different stringed instrument sizes and gives you all the dimensions that you want to know. So this is an excellent reference, and that's available online and at book outlets. And he's got quite a collection. Okay, so there's a standard side height, and I recommend you have the same on both sides. So when you get to buy a fingerboard, it tends to be too thick and it tends to be a little bit too wide and a little bit too long, so you have to kind of trim it down. And one of the things you're going to want, see if you can see this, there's a little bit of a dish. Can you see that? Here in the middle, it's dished out like this, and that's to keep the strings from buzzing. Well, whenever you lower the surface like this, the tone's going to be lower in the middle, and then the strength won't be even as you play along. So to compensate for that, you dish the sides in a little bit, and that raises the tone. So when you take some off here, it raises the tone inside. So this will have to be dished slightly, so you can see it. I can see it looking up to the outside. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it or not. And you dish the top first, and then you dish the sides just enough to bring the tone back even. So on the underside, you'll find that this relief here tends to go about to here, and this would be where the it leaves the neck, and so this has to be, usually the shape has to be brought up inside, and the idea here is you want the tone to be the same all over. So you just change, when this is too shallow here, this area will be too high, which you'd hear by comparison, comparing to the other side. So you just scrape or sand this out until you get an even tap tone all over. Okay. And this is really important for even playing power and sound. If there's high spots or low spots, then when you play a note in that area, it won't be the same as the rest of the instrument. So ideally you want this whole surface to be 176. So I'm going on either side of 176, and you can hear it's bracketed. So I've already tuned this the other day, and this is for a man's violin I'm working on. And just this morning I was noticing right here, there's a bit of a higher tone spot, and you can hear it, I think. Slightly high. So if you have a scraper that's got the same curvature as the fingerboard here, and we're just going to take just a little bit off, just where the high spot is, kind of taper it down. So that's about what we're talking about. Okay, so the overtones will change a bit, but the bass note, that's real important. If you get this 176, the rest of the instrument where it should be, all your notes will be that full power. You'll notice the man that did this fingerboard put a little bit of a groove down the center, and this has to come up into the area past the end of the neck. And the idea there is, as you put glue on, you're gluing it on your instrument, the glue can build up, and by having a little groove, the excess glue can run out this way, and I get a tighter bond, hopefully better acoustical sound. So that's the basic concept of the fingerboard. You want it to be the same all over, and you want to. So there's what we want. So there's an overtone change. And the bass part of the note's the same. So you get the right shape, you get the right length, and you dish it out according to the book so you have the right amount of string clearance. And then you compensate by, if this is the center of the dish, then this will be the center of the curve on the side. So if you're putting this on, you'd start where it's going to be the deepest and go back and forth, then expand like this, you know, leaving the ends. So this is where this is going to be the most dish here. You go back and forth, and expand out like that. And that way you get your dish, and then as soon as it's even, you stop. Now let's say you have a fingerboard, everything's dimensioned right, get the right curve in it, you've dished out to make it even, but the whole thing is too low. Okay, there's a way to compensate for that. If it's your fingerboard is off, just make a line three-quarters of an inch from the end of the fingerboard, and we'll just pretend this is a pencil. Put a line across here. If it's on the instrument, you can do the same thing by getting the strings out of the way, go up three-quarters of an inch from the nut, and take a very fine, thin-bladed saw. I think this is like 16/1000ths of an inch blades, Japanese pull saw for cutting little hardwood cuts. And then you'd simply go right across on the line and just make a cut, a shallow cut. And you just increase, as you make that cut, it shortens the effective length of the fingerboard. And that three-quarter inch, you don't finger down here. The first position's here, half position's there, so anything below the half position. But if fingerboard's off, make your line across and just cut straight across here. And that blade is so thin that once it's back on the instrument, you'll hardly notice it here on the side. If it's on the top, you'll notice a line, but it might be a way to, you don't want to take a fingerboard off, you can compensate, and if you do it right, you'll hardly notice it then too. So that's my little treatise on fingerboard. It's extremely important. That's going to be a determining factor whether all the notes on your instrument play the same or not. And if this isn't 176, it's never going to be what it should be. So, ebony fingerboards, and of course, you know, you want a good quality ebony. It's harder, it'll wear longer, and well seasoned so that the natural stress reliefs happen in the wood so it stays true and doesn't warp. Okay, so that's on fingerboards.